Hello, this is Galgor on Hand Solo, and I'm hoping that this will be the first of many solo sessions where I actually take my first steps into the game system called Ironsworn. Now, it's currently on my iPad. Unfortunately, due to being in Australia and the prohibitive cost of shipping, I currently have a printed version at my local print shop waiting to be bound. But along with the Ironsworn rule set, I will mainly be using the Lodestar reference guide, as it has a lot of the tables in here, and it's just going to make it easier to find the information instead of looking through a 260 page book. So, along with Lodestar, I have my character sheet. We have the stats: edge, heart, iron, shadow, wits. Then we'll have bonds, vows. Vows are really, I suppose, the workhorse of this system, which is a very interesting take. So I'm definitely looking forward to how that will actually drive the story of my character along. Abilities. Let's hope that I don't see too many of those. And then we have the progress trackers. These can progress. These will help us record progress in our vows, in journeys, in anything that we really need to be recording. We also have asset cards. So when you make your character up, you can start with companion cards, path cards, and combat talent cards. You'll start with 3 of those. You can choose whichever ones you want. Now, the character that I'm going to be making up is a character that I played for 3 years in a Dungeons and Dragons game, and I want to bring it over into the Ironsworn system. It's still going to be set in the Forgotten Realms, but I'll be using the Ironsworn system, at least to start off with. I believe it's going to give me a more narrative approach to telling the story, and this is hopefully going to be far more entertaining than watching the more required dice rolls, say in a die 20 game, if I was to run it purely and simply using a number of solo systems out there to continue them in D&D. So basically the background of my character is that it's actually the son of a character that I played over 20 years ago in a 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons game. this character has now had a son, and I will be playing the son. His name is Lord Reginald IV. The third was his father. He is a very, I suppose for the lack of a better working term, Lord Reggie IV is a bit of a dick. He has huge daddy issues. And his father had a huge reputation, accomplished a lot, and Reggie IV has struggled to live up to his father's name, and as a result has become not necessarily bitter, but very much out for himself, and is going to be a bit of an arsehole. He was an arsehole. And that's how he's going to continue. He's going to be an arsehole. Now, when we make the stats up for our character, we're given 1 3, 2 2s, and 2 1s. There is an option where you can start sort of like in an easier mode, where you'll have a 4, 2 3s, and 2 2s. Because I've got a certain character in mind, I'm sort of playing around with the basic sort of basically the stats. Lord Reggie, or Reggie to his friends, which are few and far between, is considers himself an adventurer, but in mechanical terms, he's actually a rogue, a thief. So he's going to have a high shadow, high widths. So he's going to have a 3 in his shadow. If you're unfamiliar with the Ironsworn rules, now I know that there are a number of excellent YouTube videos out there that explain the system, so I'm still learning it. But basically, edge is your quickness, agility, prowess, and range combat. Heart is your courage, willpower, empathy, sociability, and loyalty. This is where I have a little bit of a... I'm not sure how I'm going to go about it with Reggie, because he has, under 5th edition, his courage and willpower were extremely strong. But his empathy, sociability, and loyalty were definitely quite low. So I think what I might actually be doing here is I suppose I'm changing the game a little bit. But what I'm going to do is actually use a dual stat. Now, instead of it being a 2, I'm actually going to go 3/1. Because with 3/1, I'm going to have, when it's his courage and willpower, that's a 3. But if it's anything to do with his empathy, how social he is, loyalty, he's very much out for himself, it's going to be a 1. Iron is his physical strength, endurance, aggressiveness, prowess in close combat. He's a striker under D&D terms, but this is where I'll have his lowest value. And Shadow is his sneakiness, his deceptiveness and cunning. That's why I'm electing to put my 3 into Shadow. He is definitely one that uses the shadows to his benefit. And as where my story is going to start from was that my character had become the vessel of some shadow being that gave him quite extraordinary powers, but it would be a continual battle to try and fight him off. And so this game is about, well, this story will be about how successful Reggie will be when it comes to actually removing the shadow that is within him. Now, under D&D terms, he was a neutral evil character, like alignment. He was definitely out for himself. He would be quick to anger, but not aggressive anger. But he would seek revenge for any slight against him. And as a result, he had committed 1 or 2 atrocities, could we say, as a result. But he is also partial to helping out others if he's able to benefit from it. And this would sort of, in his eyes, sort of the yin and the yang, the good and the bad, sort of tended to weigh each other out, and he'd be just floating along. Then suddenly he was a vessel, and some would say that the evil that was inside him made him become more. That power grew. That evilness inside him grew. But I think, to be honest, it was always a part of him. It was always a part of the daddy issues. He had a father who was well respected. And as a result, it was a huge shadow that he had to get out of, and the only way he could was to live and make his own way out in the world. So, my shadow is going to be 3. My heart as I said, is going to be 3/1. So that sort of averages out to 2. Now, what I like about this system is that it's very much about the narrative. So you can do what makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, you don't do it. And I think, for me, this is probably the first part where this makes sense to me. His iron is actually going to be a 1, which means then his width and his edge would be 2. Now, in the Ironsworn rule set, health starts at, well, it goes from 0 to 5. We start at 5, and it will go up and down as events occur within the story. Spirit. That's your mental state. And again, ranked 0 to 5. So health. Health represents your current physical condition and stamina, ranked from 0 to 5. Health is reduced when you endure a harm, or you can increase it when you rest or receive care through moves such as heal or sojourn. Now, the move system is the core mechanic in this. Everything revolves around your character. It's always whether you have initiative or not. So it's an interesting system that I don't know where I'm going to head in this journey, but with luck, I will be able to provide some form of narrative that myself and hopefully others will that may be watching this will also enjoy. So when you first start, your health is marked at 5. Now for this, I'm just going to use a dry erase marker. We then have our spirit. This is your mental state, and just like health, it can go up and down, and we mark it at 5 to start with. Supply. Now, probably the thing that I struggled with the most when I was thinking about the system was, especially bringing over a character that had a very detailed inventory. In Ironsworn, that inventory is abstracted down to supply, and this can increase and decrease depending on the results of moves. So it will also be marked at 5. So we have our health, our spirit, and our supply at 5. Momentum. Momentum's another abstraction in the game that basically gives you an idea as to how you're progressing how you're faring in your quests. It's gained, it's lost. You perform moves that can increase your momentum, which allows you to. Basically, the rules say if you have positive momentum, You are building on your success and ready to make decisive moves. If you have negative momentum, you have suffered setbacks and your quest is in jeopardy. So, we have a maximum of 10. Now we can actually reset it. We can use our momentum, mainly for modifying dice rolls. So when we start our character, it's going to be at 2. Our at rest is at 2, and our maximum is 10. So anytime we burn momentum to turn a weak or a weak success or a miss into a strong success, we can burn all our momentum and it will reset to whatever our current reset value is. So to begin with, our reset value is 2, and I can never go past 10, but we can go all the way down to -6. I've then just filled in the boxes there. The next thing that we need to do is when you vows. Vows are basically what drive you to fulfill quests. It allows you to progress your story. Now you tend to have like one large overarching sort of vow. It's like your background vow. It's your long-term goal. So in his case, it's actually will be getting rid of the darkness within him. So our first session, we should start with 2 vows. So a long-term goal. So in this case, his vow will be to remove the darkness within him, ideally without it actually causing him negative effect. And then a second vow that is an immediate situation that must be dealt with. So when we start the first session, we'll work out what that vow is going to be. Now, bonds. As you build relationships and complete quests in the services of others, you create bonds by making the Forge a Bond move. You should start your first session with up to 3 background bonds. Now, these, in my case, my background bonds are going to revolve around the characters that I had been playing around the tabletop with. One of which was Kaylin. She was a ranger. And then the second was this annoying cleric who just got up Reggie's nose. Who really was, in Reggie's eyes, useless. So much so that I have forgotten his name and never once recorded it on any parts of my character sheets. But he is a cleric of Lathander, and he played a big part in the storyline, and it will be the result of, he'll play a very big part in the initial part of the story when I start. I have no debilities, so I don't need to worry about debilities, banes or burdens. We then have assets. Now, I'm not going to be having any companions because of the way the story is going to go, so I'm going to be looking at paths and combat talents. Now, again, I've just printed these off, and it's actually magic cards behind them. Now, if we look at Fletcher, for example, it's got a black dot. So when I choose, if I was to choose Fletcher, I have this ability. I can then use experience later to buy the other parts, the other dots, or the dot points on this card. So when I have a look at them, Fletcher, crafting arrows, that's not exactly where Reggie is. Now again, you can be gaming the system, or you can be looking at what makes thematic sense for your character. He doesn't wield an axe, he does have a sling, so we'll consider that one. Definitely a cutthroat. Or actually, he used to have a rapier, but I think cutthroat in this setting is actually where I think his combat talent would be. He's not a skirmisher. He's not got long arms. He was never a duelist. He wore leather armor, so that doesn't count. Berserker, brawler. He was a dirty fighter, but he wasn't a brawler. Archer. So currently at this point in time, I think I'm going to have Cutthroat. And then we have paths. So for the three assets that I have chosen, the first is Cutthroat. If you wield a dagger or knife, when you are in a position to strike at an unsuspecting foe, choose one before rolling, add +2 and take 1 momentum on a hit, inflict +2 harm on a hit. Very much Reggie. Very much a dirty fighter, very much bit of a dick. I'm going to take the veteran just because he's coming over, so it's not like it's his first thing. I'm taking veteran because he's not new to adventuring. He's new to the situation that he's going to find himself in, but he's not new to adventuring, so I think veteran is definitely worthwhile taking there. And the last one is Trickster. When you face danger, secure an advantage or compel by lying, bluffing, stealing, or cheating, add +1. Again, very much Reggie. So those are the 3 assets that I'm going to take as part of my character. I'm hoping that, I suppose from a personal point of view, to finish off this initial video, is to sort of, I suppose, try and achieve 2 tasks. One is to try and improve my storytelling. I have have a character that I connected with. I spent 3 years playing every fortnight, and I want to be able to see his character to achieve the end that he wasn't able to do. But hopefully my storytelling skills will improve as a result. But the second one is probably the most important thing, is it's personal growth for me. That I have a severe anxiety disorder, so by trying to do this, I'm going to be able to, I'm putting myself out there for the world. And this causes a great deal of anxiety, and I'm hoping that as a result I may be able to have some personal growth along with character growth. So thanks very much. Hopefully you will continue to join me in the adventures that will continue.